Hi, hello. How are ya? So this month I read 10 romantasy books. Um I don't even know why. Like I didn't plan on only reading romantasy this month, but it kind of just happened. So now we're just going to go through all of these romantasy books and see which ones I liked, which ones I maybe really didn't like, and which ones were just like fine. They were there. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first romantasy book that I read is Rebel Witch. If you don't know it, this is the second book after Heartless Hunter, or I think in some countries it's called Crimson Moth. And overall, the series is called Crimson Moth. This is a duology. So, this was the second and last book in this series. And I read the first one last year. Did it come out last year? I think I read it last year when it came out. And I was actually pretty surprised because I enjoyed it a lot more than most popular romantasy books, I think. Like, for example, Fourth Wing, Akatar, didn't love them. I also didn't love this one, but like, I just felt like I enjoyed it more. And I don't even really know why. I think I really enjoyed the characters. So let's just talk about the book. So, in this world, the government has been taken over by humans and they are basically oppressing witches because at some point one evil witch like took over the world, country, whatever, and it wasn't great. She was killing humans all the time. So now the humans are basically doing the exact same thing in turn. Like they're just killing every witch. No trial, just as soon as someone knows you're a witch, you're dead. And our main character, in fact, is a witch. And our love interest is a witch hunter. So you can see how that's a little bit of a problem. But what I personally really enjoyed about the relationship, I guess, so basically they are both trying to catch each other off guard. Like basically he's trying to get proof that she's a witch and she's just trying to use him to save more witches. So they are both technically just lying to each other the whole time and just trying to one up each other and trying to outsmart each other. And I just thought that was so fun. Honestly, I had such a good time reading the first book. If you do want a romantasy with a lot of plot, this is not for you. Technically, there is a plot. Technically, the world is very interesting, but we really don't go that deep into it. For example, the main character is actually, she's a witch and she's trying to save other witches. So she becomes like this thief type person that just runs around the town and snatches witches out of the guards' grasps. And she's supposed to be like really smart and is doing all that, but we don't really see any of that in the book itself because that's not what it's about. It's about the romance. So the plot isn't really there. And now that I read the second book, I can say it's basically the same with the second one. It's definitely mostly about the romance, but I enjoyed the romance. So I also quite enjoyed the second one. Like it was a good duology. Would I read it again? Probably not, because it just didn't leave that much of an impact on me. But I had a good time while I was reading it. And I also feel like both books just like flew by. I think I probably read both of them in like a day or two. So if you just want like a chill, easy to get through romantasy with not much plot, but a lot of yearning and emotions between those two, this is definitely for you. Oh, one more thing that I gotta say though, like I said, it's not as much about the plot. And so actually at some point I felt like we either should have gotten another book or we should have just focused a little bit more on the plot, because in the second book I feel like probably about 70% of the book is just the romance, and then in the last like 10, 20, 30%, we have to fly through the plot so fast because so much still has to happen. Like, we're basically in a war between the witches and the humans. And when we were like at 80, 85%, I don't remember, I was just wondering, how are we gonna solve this? Because we've just been hanging out with the couple the whole time, not really doing anything. So I gotta say, in the second one especially, the plot really just got the short end. So we are really just focusing on the relationship, and I do think that the plot suffered for that. But I enjoyed the relationship so much that I didn't care as much about that, I guess. I don't know, but that was the Rebel Witch. Okay, next, and I genuinely I finally read Dance of Thieves, and when I tell you, I've been saying that I want to read this for so long. Like, genuinely, every year I'm like, I'm gonna read this soon. And I just never did, and I really don't know why, because now we actually have some backstory here. So this is a duology called Dance of Thieves, but basically there's another series before this, and the first one is called Kiss of Deception. I read that when it came out 10 years ago, maybe? I think it's probably about 10 years. So I read it when it came out. I really liked it when I was 13, I guess. And I had no idea that these two books are connected. So now I really want to reread Kiss of Deception as well again. But now let's get back to the book that I read last month, which is Dance of Thieves. In this world, we follow this girl who technically, I guess, is kind of a thief, but she also works for the queen. Don't ask me how that worked. And she has this job that she needs to do, so she's going to this town with two of her friends, and they have to do something. I don't remember what. But on their mission, her and this guy kind of get taken by some people. And even though they don't like each other, they now have to work together to get out of it. It was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. I thought the setting was just very interesting and the plot was also interesting. So this is definitely more of a younger YA, I would say. And the romance is definitely strongly there. Like the yearning, absolutely, but it isn't like very much, like they don't really kiss that much, and anything else is very much behind closed doors, you know? So the romance is definitely there, but it's more about like the emotional connection they have and just them learning to work together and learning to love each other, I guess. So then I read Quicksilver, and when I tell you, I have heard so much about this book. Like, this is a popular book right now, which is funny because actually everything that I had heard, which probably shows me that I'm following the right people for my taste, because everything I had heard was that this was not a good book. But I kind of felt left out, okay? I wanted to be part of the community. I wanted to be able to talk about it. So I read it. And when I tell you, I had to force myself through this book so badly. It took me so long. I'm pretty sure I started this before Rebel Witch, maybe even before some of the books I read in June. But I just had to take like breaks and just read like whole full other books in between because I just could not get through this book for the life of me. But yeah, on the beginning of July, I finally got through it. And I gotta say, okay, I don't only have bad things, okay? So I gotta be honest, the world and setting is actually pretty interesting. So we start with this girl, and the world has kind of gone to shit. Honestly, they basically also have like a system like in Hunger Games where there's like District 1, District 2 and all of that, and she's basically in like the lowest worst one. And so the story starts with her stealing armor or something from like a guard so that she can maybe sell it and just get something to eat. I don't know, for her and her brother. But sadly, they catch her. But basically, when they are trying to get her to her execution, she runs away and she finds this door and just like opens it and ends up in the fairy world because why not? And like I said, I think the plot technically was interesting. We just didn't really have a lot of it because we're mostly focusing on this fae dude named Kingfisher, which already, like, you're telling me I'm supposed to find a man hot named Kingfisher. Like, not in a mean way, but like, this is a Kingfisher. I don't know, but I just don't imagine a broody, dark, mysterious, of course, tall, handsome man when I hear the name Kingfisher. I'm sorry. And this man is the worst of the worst when it comes to men. Like, I really don't understand how anyone could find this man attractive. Maybe I feel like how this man treats her, this is how I imagine dark romance men treat the women. Because I've never read any dark romance, but he was so horrible to her, and I just don't understand how we're supposed to find that attractive. Like, genuinely, he was treating her so shitty, and also just like disgustingly, okay? Like, a lot of the time she would say like, no, leave me alone, and he would be like, but I can smell that you want me, or something like that, because for some reason in literally any romantasy, the fae men can smell when you're horny. And it's like, just because she feels something doesn't mean that she really wants it, though. Just saying, you can still say no, even if you are horny, I guess. So just the way this man treated her, so disgusting. But then they are trying to justify it because he had a hard childhood, I guess. So it's just like, I don't think you should treat someone terribly just because you've been treated terribly, okay? And also, it just doesn't excuse it. So, yeah, I hated this book. I really don't know why I even pushed through. I could have DNF'd it. But I'm so sad because, like I said, technically, in my opinion, the setting of the world has so much potential. So maybe in the next books we're gonna get more into that, but I really don't think I want to pick up the next one after this one. So I don't know. I'm just sad about it, to be honest. Then I read A Fate Inked in Blood, and I think this is a little less known, I guess. At least I had only heard of it like once or twice a few years ago, and it just got available in my library, so I was like, sure. Why not read that? This is based, I guess, on Norse mythology. And I thought that was so interesting because I just feel like there isn't that much about Norse mythology except for like Marvel. And I don't think that's the greatest way to learn about mythology. So in this book, we are following a girl called Freya. Is that her name? Maybe it's not, because I know a goddess named Freya. Maybe she's named after the goddess. I know I'm really good at remembering books and especially names. So we're following this girl, and she is married to this awful, terrible guy who treats her like shit. We don't like him. And basically, the book starts with her killing him. And then the man that is in charge of the land finds her and takes her with him because she is like claimed by one of the goddesses that is very specific, that not a lot of people are claimed by them, like have their power. And so he takes her to be his bride because the girl just can't catch a break, I guess, from terrible men marrying her. And yeah, we're just basically with this man, and he kind of wants to use us as a weapon to become the king of like all the lands. That's the plot. And I actually enjoyed it. I had a good time. It wasn't like life-changing great, but I really liked it. Like I said, it's just very different from all the other books that I've read in this month, like romantasy wise, I guess. I feel like it wasn't the typical romantasy, but I really enjoyed it. It was still very much romantasy though. So the plot is definitely there, which I liked, but the romance is also there. The yearning is there. Those two cannot keep their hands off each other. And I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. And I already have the second book on hold in my library, and I'm hoping I'm gonna get it soon. So, yeah, that was A Fate Inked in Blood. Now, for the next one, I don't even know if people would consider this romantasy, but I personally definitely do. So, yeah, I read Lady Midnight. If you don't know, maybe you know Shadowhunters, like either the original book, City of Bones, or just the TV show. So, a little backstory on me here. I read the Shadowhunter books, like the original, The Mortal Instruments, when I was 12, probably. Oh my god, when I tell you, this was my whole personality. Like this and Harry Potter, those two things were everything to me. I know, thinking about it now, the books might be a little bit problematic, like just a teeny tiny bit. But yeah, I really love the Shadowhunter books. But for some reason, I never read anything past the original series, so the Mortal Instruments. And genuinely, if I could slap myself in the past, I would. Because what do you mean I only read like the worst books? Like, genuinely, I really do feel like they get better. So last year, I think I read The Infernal Devices, which is the next series that the author wrote after the original one. And that was so good. I Loved the series so much. It was so good. If you want a good love triangle, because I personally hate love triangles, but in this series, when I tell you, I didn't know who I wanted to end up with whom, because in that book series, basically, it's a girl and two best friends who are basically like brothers, so they love each other like brothers. So basically, everyone loves everyone in this love triangle. And genuinely, a lot of the times, the brothers would just be like, "Are you okay?" And the girl would be next to them like, "I'm fine too, thanks for asking." So yeah, I love the series so much, and now I read Lady Midnight. This one takes place, I think, maybe 5 years after the original series. So basically, we are just following new characters that were maybe children in the last series, and now they are teenagers, so they have problems, especially romantic ones, of course. And in this world, we have something called Parabatai, and that's basically a bond between two shadow hunters. That means that they are like connected to each other. They are like basically closer than lovers, closer than brothers and sisters. It's really hard to explain, at least for how we've seen it so far. But in this book, the question becomes, what happens if you fall in love? Because in this world, it is illegal for people to fall in love with their parabatai. So what do you do when that happens? Because like, you can't just stop loving someone because it's illegal. Like, that's not how feelings work. And so yeah, that's basically the love story that surrounds this trilogy, I guess. Now I gotta say, so far I've only read the first and second book. I did start the third one, but to be honest, I really enjoyed the first one, but it kinda, like, my excitement got less and less strong with the second and then the third one. Genuinely, I'm very bored with the third one, and I don't know when I'm gonna finish it. But the first one, I loved that one. I really thought it was so good. The Shadowhunter world is just so fun. I was so happy to finally get back into it, and the romance is very intriguing because, like I said, basically it's illegal for them to be together. And also I really like that the side characters are very developed. That was the same in the other series as well. I really enjoy that when it's not just like the main couple, but there are other characters that have a personality as well. And also the love triangle, I guess, plot for the side characters, also very intriguing. So yeah, I had such a good time reading this one. I really enjoyed it. But then I gotta say, I got to the second one, and at that point, the romance plots were annoying the shit out of me. Like, genuinely, at that point I was like, I don't care anymore. Just like either get together or not. But this like, will they, won't they, is really annoying. And especially, like I said, there's this love triangle that's like between side characters. Oh my god, I could not. Honestly, in the second and third book, it gets so annoying to me that these three are just jumping between each other and cannot for the life of them communicate with each other about it. Like, honestly, I was so annoyed. So I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was alright. The ending maybe did make me tear up a little bit. It was intense, but yeah, so far I don't really care about the third one. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to finish it, but I don't care that much. And now I'm also wondering, because there's one more series left that I haven't read. I don't know, I think it's like Chain of Gold or something. I don't know, but there's one more series in the Shadowhunter universe that I haven't read yet, and I'm not sure if I wanna right now, to be honest. So yeah, that was Lady Midnight and Prince of Shadow, I think. Those are the first two books, and maybe I will finally finish Queen of Air, and I don't know, maybe I will finish it this month, but I don't know. I don't see that happening so far, to be honest. Okay, the next book I read is called One Dark Window. And I just have to also give a little bit of backstory here, because I started this one in April already. And I, for the life of me, could not get into it. I don't know why. No, actually I do know at least like a part of the reason. And that's the names of the characters. Because the main character is called Elspeth, And then the guy is called Raven, but not like the Raven. No. This is a fantasy story. So we had to change the name a little bit. So, and I don't know, it was too edgy for me, too dramatic. And for some reason I just couldn't get into it when I started it like that. But I'm so glad that I got back into it now, because genuinely, I really like this book. I'm so surprised, but like, I actually had a great time. For example, one thing that really annoyed me at the beginning was that the world is really confusing. At the beginning, at least for me, like the magic system, all of that, I was very confused. And so I just didn't care. But once I really got into it, I actually think that it's really interesting, because in this world, people have like magic cards that can do different things. So for example, the Nightmare card can do something different than the Maiden card. And so if people possess these cards, they have access to magic, but without the cards you can't really use any magic. And it was really interesting. I actually had a great time. So with this one, we follow this girl called Elspeth, and she, ever since she was maybe 10, she has kind of had magic, because like I said, people usually have these cards, so having actual magic is very rare, and it's also illegal. So she has to keep it a secret, and her magic is basically that she has, since she was like 10 and got the magic, she has this dark, mysterious voice in her head, which I thought for the longest time that was gonna be our love interest. I swear Romantasy has been weird lately, like with all these shadow daddies that can like speak to your mind. I was genuinely thinking that was gonna be the love interest. But it turns out no. But yeah, so this girl has this weird man in her head, and because he has magic, basically she also has his magic. And his magic is that he can see these cards, like they have a specific type of glow. For example, the Maiden card is something about love or something, so it glows kind of pinkish, I guess. And all of these have like different colors, like red, orange, and so she can see them even if they aren't like right in front of her. And she basically gets recruited by this family so that she can help them find more cards so that they can save children that have magic to not get executed, because like I said, it's illegal in this world. And basically part of this family is this really hot dude named Raven. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was just very different and I really liked that. So like I said before, the magic system, the setting, it's also very like dark, grim, because there's also this mist around that is kind of unsafe and people shouldn't go into the mist. And I really like anything with like a dramatic mist for some reason. Don't ask me why, but I really enjoyed it and I'm so excited to finally get the second one, and I have it on hold in my library. So please, if you are reading this book in my library right now, read faster, because I want to get this book so badly. I really want to know how the plot develops, and it's also a duology, so the second book is the last book, and I'm just very intrigued. So yeah, that was One Dark Window, and I think the second one is called Two Twisted Crowns, and I'm very excited. So after this, I read Vow of Thieves, which is the second book after Dance of Thieves. Like I said before, it's the duology. And I really enjoyed this one as well. However, I would not consider this one a romantasy, actually, because I feel like the romance plot, like it already developed so much in the first book, that in the second book we are definitely focusing more on the actual plot. And there's a lot of politics involved. And it was really interesting, in my opinion. I really liked this one. I think I even liked it more than the first one. Let's see how I rated it. Wait. Yeah, so I actually rated this one even higher than the first one. But like I said, if you want like actual romantasy, this one is definitely not it, because it's very much plot focused and a lot on the politics and like basically the war that is happening there. So yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was a very good duology. And like I said, I am thinking of reading The Kiss of Deception now again as well. So next I read Throne of Glass, and here I have to give a lot backstory, I think, because I read Throne of Glass before. I actually read it before Akatar as well, because I only read that last year. And Throne of Glass I read a while ago. When I tell you, the first time I read this, I hated this book. I think I gave it like 1 star. I really... And I think it was because back then, like, the term romantasy didn't exist yet. And for some reason, just knowing that a book is gonna be a romantasy makes me have very different expectations than when I hear that it's this great high fantasy. And so when I started it the first time, I just didn't expect it to talk about the chiseling abs of every male mentioned ever. So I was just very annoyed when I was reading it, because I was like, what is this? I thought this is like a high fantasy book. Why are we just talking about everyone's bicep? I just want to know. And so I just didn't really enjoy it, because it was just not what I was expecting. And when I tell you, this genuinely turned me off Sarah J. Maas so badly that was the reason why I only read ACOTAR last year. Like, I didn't want to read anything else this woman had written, because I hated this one so much, which is honestly crazy, because then I read ACOTAR and I didn't love the first one, but I really enjoyed the second book actually. And overall, I think that was what made me like romantasy actually. So like, it's just crazy to think about. But yeah, so I read this again now with different expectations, and now I actually enjoyed this book so much more. Like, I really liked it this time actually, because I was just like, I knew that we were gonna talk about every hot man in the universe, but still I think there was still a good decent plot, so I really enjoyed it actually. I like that the plot was very interesting. So in this one we are following this girl called Selena, and she's an assassin, or at least she has been an assassin until she got caught. And now she's been in prison for a long time, or like, I don't think it's a prison, I think they sent them to the mines where you have to work, and it's like really hard. Most people die after a few months, but she's been there for about a year, I think. But now for some reason she has been taken out of this prison, mines, whatever, because the king is searching for a champion. So the king basically made this tournament where different like assassins, or just like people that are very skilled at killing other people, are going to fight against each other, and the one that wins is going to be the king's champion. So that person is going to work for the king for, I think, maybe 6 years or 5 years, and after that they are supposed to be free, get their freedom. And so of course she's gonna go for that, because why would she stay in the mines if she could just like be outside and be part of this tournament, and then hopefully become the king's champion and be free in like a couple of years. So she agrees to do it, and yeah, we're in this tournament fighting other people, but also someone is killing the candidates. So we're trying to win this tournament, but we're also trying to not get killed outside of the tournament. And then also there's like 2 hot guys that like her. And that's a plot. But like I said, I really enjoyed it actually this time. I had a great time. I have started the second one though, and I haven't been as focused on it. Like, I did start it, but I read other books in between. So I am enjoying the books, but I really don't know if I'm gonna read all of them, but we'll see. So now we are at the last book that I read in July. I actually also read 2 other books. I read The Semi Too Pretty, but I'm not gonna talk about this here, because this is about like the romantasy books. So this book actually just came out last week, and I had it pre-ordered already, and I read it immediately on the day that it came out. I'm pretty sure I also finished it on that day. And the book is called Soul of Shadow. Now I gotta be honest, I really love the author. She posts very funny Vampire Diary videos, okay? So if you like that, just go follow her, because she's just funny. But I've also read a lot of her other books and I enjoyed them. So yeah, with this book, like I said, she likes to post about Vampire Diaries, and she did say that this was a little bit inspired by Vampire Diaries, which made me expect vampires. So I was a little bit surprised when in this book actually we also focus on Norse mythology. So that was very surprising to me, because like I said, I was just expecting Mystic Falls and vampires, but actually we have Norse mythology in this one as well. But this is definitely very different from A Fate Inked in Blood, for example, which also had Norse mythology, because that one was very much like Viking era, and this is definitely just like present day. So in present day, this girl Charlie just lives her life, I guess, goes to high school, but people have been disappearing in her town, and there have been weird symbols drawn on trees in the forest where the people have been disappearing. And it turns out those are Nordic symbols. And so Charlie is trying to figure out what is happening. And then also this mysterious new guy comes into town and starts going to her school. And maybe he has something to do with it. We don't really know what's going on, but he's also very hot and doesn't seem to get away. Like, kind of seems to be part of our life now. So yeah, that's basically the premise. I gotta say, I enjoyed this book, but, and I think I felt this for her other fantasy books that I read before as well, it just feels very young. Like, it's definitely young adult, but it just really feels younger. Like, I feel like I would have enjoyed that or read that when I was maybe 12 or 13. So I didn't love it as much now. And I also was expecting vampires, okay? And this dude, he might be something, but he ain't a vampire. So I don't know, I was just expecting something different. And also, like I said, it just feels very young. So I don't love that, especially because I have read her romance books. So not romantasy, not fantasy, but like her contemporary romance books. And I really like that. And it didn't feel as young to me. So I'm confused as to why all her fantasy books just feel more like children-ish books. I mean, not really children, like I said, like they're still, like they are drinking alcohol and doing drugs and stuff, but still I feel like I would have read this when I was 13, not at like 17 or 18. I know I am neither of those ages. I'm even older right now, so maybe it's just not for me anymore. Maybe I'm just too old for this. But I mean, it was fine. I had a good time. Towards the end, it definitely got very interesting, and I am intrigued because the second book is actually already coming out next year. So I am definitely gonna read the second book, but I wouldn't say it's like my favorite romantasy. But yeah, so now we're finally at the end. Please tell me if you have read any of these, because I feel like I have read most of the like very popular romantasies. So I was actually excited to read some maybe less known romantasy books this month, and I had such a good time. Honestly, most of them were great. The only one I really hated was Quicksilver. All the other ones were like, maybe some of them weren't the best I've ever read, but like they were still good, they were fine, I had a good time. So yeah, let me know what you thought about these books if you've read them. Maybe if you haven't read them, tell me if you want to read them, and if you have other recommendations for romantasy, please give them to me, especially if they have a good plot. Because I do enjoy having a good plot and a good romance in a book. So yeah, if you have some recommendations for me, please, I need more romantasy. It's genuinely become one of my favorite genres. Fantasy overall has always been my favorite genre, but I don't know. Lately I have been liking romantasy quite a lot as well. So yeah, those were all the romantasy books I read last month. Thank you so much for being here, thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye!